let's talk with music, let's communicate this way, let's express something, let's comment. This feeling of saying and speaking and playing to connect is the best.
I'm Zsolt Bognár, and this is Living the Creative Life. Our guest today is saxophonist Asya Fateyeva. Asya, thank you so much for being on the series. It's a delight to welcome you on.
Thank you very much.
So classical saxophone, that is such an unexpected thing, probably for most people. I imagine that most people associate saxophone with jazz. So is there a certain thrill in proving that there is another way to represent this instrument in a different repertoire?
Absolutely. I'm always really happy and saying, yes, I did it, hearing from public or from people, from colleagues, wow, we never heard it this way. We didn't know it works, so it sounds like this. Thank you very much. So just to show them the other side of my instrument, it's really what's for me the most important thing.
Now, I know that you started with piano. So how did you go from piano to saxophone?
Well, it was thanks or due to my father, as he is a football player, but he always wanted to play saxophone, so he bought it for himself. And I was playing piano back then. I was almost 10 years old. And so I tried the instrument. It was at home. It was a tenor saxophone, even bigger for a child. And I felt really immediately in love from this feeling of producing sound, of being in touch physically with the sound, what I was maybe missing by piano.
So then when you started taking up saxophone, how long did it take to form the basis of what you would consider to be a comfortable, solid technique?
I think it's a very easy instrument to play. It's a very, very thankful instrument to play. And as I could read music and I was kind of playing, so it took me for 6 months. And then I was playing with orchestra already in Kyiv in front of the orchestra as a soloist.
After 6 months?
Yeah, so it was ridiculously fast.
Finding a new voice on saxophone as opposed to piano, is that a question of artistic identity? Like you have to live with yourself a little bit with that new voice.
Well, I was 11 or something like this, so I was not so philosophic by the time. I was just enjoying playing and sharing. I think this feeling of sharing, it doesn't matter which instrument you play. The sharing and talking, communicating to the public, to people, enjoying the music and these feelings of maybe transporting to other people the emotions in this world. This kind of sharing, I think, is really the key word. Then it can be, there is no fear, I guess.
So then, if you fell in love with music, then was there a decision at some point? I'm going to be a musician, that's my life.
First of all, I was following kind of maybe wish of my parents. Let's say they were supporting me, that I can do it. But I wasn't really asking myself, never. But then when I moved to Germany with an age of 14 years old, I was really starting to asking myself, doubting, because everybody here is speaking like, yeah, no, first of all, you have to make Abitur before studying. Abitur is like until 19 years old, you have to go to school, finish all the levels. Then maybe you study music. Are you sure it's secure? So this question of security is really strong developed in Germany.
Isn't that the question always? Can we have our musical lives be secure? Even just from the standpoint of being financially stable through our lives, that's one thing for a classical musician. But then to do it with an instrument that's less common, did you ever think of that?
I'm thinking now, let's say, but maybe because my parents are not musicians, that's why they were not having these very pragmatic thoughts. Actually, I'm also thankful, it's maybe not so bad, not to have this stability, because you have to be creative. You have to stay always on the edge of searching, of trying things out. So actually, I'm happy, but it's not easy. Now I have the face to show the unpredictable things and the things that you could never imagine can work.
You also wish to hopefully elevate the level of German playing for saxophone. What do you mean by that?
Germany is a beautiful country with beautiful traditions. And of course, they have the tradition of orchestra. And if saxophone is not really there, historically, it was invented too late, let's say. Many people not asking themselves the question why it's not there. So maybe they put it in some kind of box of not good enough or maybe not, somehow not classical enough. It was invented by Antoine Joseph Adolphe Sax, back then in middle of 19th century. And he wanted to do something also better, to connect the wind instruments to brass instruments. So this bridge was missing in orchestra. And so he thought, if you create this family of instruments, they will be as expressive as a string instrument, as virtuose as a woodwind instrument, and as powerful as a brass instrument. But actually, for the instrument, as it was invented back then to the opera time and salon music, so it was very common to take some opera arias that you just heard in the evening, and then for next day play arrangements like fantasies about it, like virtuoso stuff, a la Liszt and so on. So this was really influencing the instrument. And of course, another dislike what we have is a 20th century Nazi regime and so on. So they took the saxophone as already symbol of something forbidden and added Kunst, degenerative art. If you know this black guy with a Jewish star and saxophone, it's from Krenek Journey spielt auf, from the opera. So it was really pictured something forbidden, bad, and degenerative. That's why until now I have to fight against this kind of picture of this instrument. I have to show, no, my instrument can be beautiful, can be nice. It's not only from this corner. And if you consider the fact that was developed and invented not for jazz music at all, it came much later, it deserves to have this place in the classical music.
So you're still a relatively young performer, and I know that you've done a little bit of teaching. For a young, aspiring saxophonist, what would you suggest that they do to start their studies?
It's really at home in many, many genres. And that's why I think it's really nice not to divide it as strict, finally, because in my experience, I was very, very, very classical, extremely classical. I was hurt hearing saxophone is jazz because I heard it only this way. I was like, no, I'll show the real classical way.
So if we're talking about the combination or perhaps the closeness between jazz music tradition and classical, what you're describing is not so different, perhaps?
Yeah, what I'm discovering now, with playing even more and more early music, that the connection between jazz and early music is so big. It's like the direct bridge, like the way they sing the general bass and basso continuo and the harmonies from jazz, the way they sing. So this connection is incredible. Now what I'm doing and what I'm discovering for myself is a lot of old music. And since few years I have a combination with Lautenkompanie, with the old music ensemble, and we're making this kind of exchange of old and new. And first rehearsal, I was not sure it works with a theorb, and a lute. And I thought, my saxophone is too loud, it cannot work. What kind of pitch they have? Is it old? Is it like Baroque tuning? So I really had no clue because I was studying music, but it's the old music, early music, and new, and orchestral instruments, let's say, it's really different worlds. So for me to have the feeling you don't know any composer, you don't know so many things, and that time you just get some kind of scratch and kind of lead sheet, let's say, and nothing is written, and you have to discover and add so much by yourself. It was completely shocking experience, and now I'm kind of overwhelming it, and I'm on my way, but it was so enjoying to get that work done.
Did it ever happen to you that you said, well, I'm looking for something new, some new way to express my voice, and then perhaps you have to look in the direction of commissioning a work?
Absolutely. This commissioning is the big question, and we must do it. It's really our future. It's our way. So I see my task a little bit like show everything what's possible. Maybe combination that you never thought, like with loud and baroque harp, or with with a hurdy-gurdy, the ensemble hurdy-gurdy,
really?
cello and vibraphone. So hurdy-gurdy. So it's really like this combination that I'm really curious about. And then if people heard it, then you can really be, I think, even more free as a composer to decide what I do with this instrument and not to take it in a one specific way. And anyways, I guess as a composer, you just express yourself as well with your own language. So that would be the best, actually, to create saxophone without any prejudice. That's my task. I think this growing artistically is really, for me, connected to the curiosity, the musical curiosity. So I really need new projects. I need new period of music or combination of instruments that I'm discovering for myself. So learning from the music, from colleagues, from genre that I'm playing is always there. So I have really to stay student, let's say, all my life. Only then I can teach and share and play. So this balance of knowing everything and knowing nothing and discovering things. It's always have to be in good balance and to be alive. That's why it's hard to play same things, I would say. And in order to stay fresh, I need as much new as stable.
I'm sure that there are young viewers of this conversation, of any instrument, who say, well, yes, I want to commission a new work too, but where would the money come from? How could they make this work?
To start for young musicians, I think the way is to ask your friends, to your colleagues that they write for chamber music. It's the most easiest way to go to the composer class, to show the instrument, to share these ideas. And starting from there, you can really make friends with composers and who know where you will be ending, or the composer where he will go or she will go. So this friendship with composers is really important.
Is there room for classical improvisation in a concert setting?
Yes, there is, and I'm really strongly looking for it. And first of all, if you hear improvisation, it's only jazz, but actually not at all. And in the classical music, there was so much, let's say, until Liszt, let's say, and then they were starting even mostly to write it down. But all the cadenzas were improvised. The musician, like even Beethoven, Mozart, they were improvising and then writing it down. So they were not putting as many indication in music because it was supposed that the musician will add their own style and different appoggiaturas and maybe improvise something on it. So the musician was alive and the musician was really a big part of the music. What nowadays a bit became dangerous, that the musician is only somebody who is playing the written stuff and should be perfect, this word and this dot and so on. And I feel a bit like in a cage and trying to break this as well. And it's really hard for classical musicians to stay alive and to perform this alive, just written music and to go back to the source. I really invite many people to start to improvising and to discover it. It has not to be jazzy at all, like really not. There are many different ways.
Okay, so let's say they come to you and they say, I want to learn to improvise. Is that something that is possible to teach?
Yes, and I think also to start early with kids, it's even more fun because they don't have this strict judgment. What's wrong, what's right, what works, what's not working, because it says a language. And to keep this feeling of just communication, the way of communication. Okay, let's talk with music, let's communicate this way, let's express something, let's comment, so this feeling of saying and speaking and playing to connect is the best.
So I'm always curious, for the performers who do find a lot of ease and joy in performing, what's the headspace when you're backstage? Before the performance, where is your attention focused? Are you thinking about some impulses of rhythm, something about melody, something about trying to activate your most open emotions?
Everything. Very nice points you just mentioned. Of course, there is everything to think about, starting with the instrument, with your body condition, then the music, be really deep in the expression of the music. If you have to transmit this very feeling of music, you have to be exaggerating so much and to be really deep inside. So to this process of coming under, like diving, I would say, it's really intense. And it's also important to forget yourself in a way, because you can be also disturbing for the music in order that music flows, and you shouldn't be disturbing. And sometimes there are really strong moments in the music where you have to be just part of it and just transmitting like a medium from this energy source to another one. So I think not to block is also the very important thing, but then to collect and to produce this energy and go.
How would you regard the fact that, for example, you have to develop a certain amount of breath control? Is there an athletic component to that?
A little bit, I would say, yes, but not such a big one. I guess the best example, of course, singers. They're really in contact like 200% with their body, because the body is the instrument. So we are not as much, I think, as them, but we can always learn a lot from them. And the body is a kind of resonance body. Usually I say that if you play cello, it's this nice instrument that resonates from the strings vibration. And for us, it's a reed that give vibration, then we resonate ourselves. So we have to develop it and maybe support the sound with our body.
Sometimes there are moments that feel like triumphs. What about those moments that feel like a disappointment to you for whatever reason?
Well, you're just learning with any experience you have, and I'm really happy being a musician, because there are no loss, because music is just state of your mind, of your heart, expressing things, and it can be only happy things. So music is not only about happiness, even the opposite. I think if you're really struggling and living some very hard moments, then maybe you'll even start to write something, or you'll have this need to play something like deep and to maybe heal yourself. And with music we can heal and yourself and people, and giving hope or support or whatever. So I think music is really much more than this black and white and win or lose and there is no loss.
You talked about the fact that you were born in Crimea. Do you still have family there?
Yes, I have my aunt there.
Are you also in touch with musicians who are there? Are they still able to make, music in the context of everything that's going on in the region?
I think the closest circle of friends moved out because it's kind of also tradition. You start there, but then you go to Europe to study, or you go abroad, even over the ocean. So that's why I cannot say that. And also my first teacher, saxophone teacher, she's in Lübeck now, so we're teaching together. So really, and my first piano teacher, she's also in Germany. So all the people I'm thinking about, they're not there. I don't know if it's changed or not after it became Russian. I guess no. I guess it's just same kind of way. What it was not never easy, and you just continue this way of dedication, of doing your best what you can. Doesn't matter how small it is, even it's a tiny small music school, and you're doing the dedication of 200% and really performing like it would be at least Carnegie Hall. So that's the way I experienced there when I was small. This kind of really honest way of living. So I guess the people just continue this way.
It was such a pleasure to speak with you here and to get a little bit of a glimpse of your musical life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.